صل على مبيننا صل على محمد
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, and welcome to another program entitled Life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, coming to you from MT International Gambia Studios. On our previous topic, we discussed about the Sariyya of Abdurrahman ibn Auf to Dumatul Jandal and the details that happened there. And today we are going to discuss about the Sariyya of Hadhrat Ali anhu to Fadak, which also happened in the same year. And if time permits, we are also going to discuss about the Sariyya of Abu Bakr to the Banu Fazara. I am here in the studio with Ustaz Dembaba on my immediate right, and on my far right, Ustaz Ruhan Ahmad. Gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Ustaz Demba, we start with the Sariyya of Hadhrat Ali to Fadak. And we have seen that in this year, 6th year after Hijrah, there were a lot of Saraya that the Prophet ﷺ sent companions out to either go meet some people for a battle purpose, or go and quell some other mischief that was happening around. And we have seen that in the Sariyya of Dumatul Jandal, that was a very, very long distance that we have mentioned. Even the Prophet ﷺ himself went there in the second year, in the 4th year after Hijrah. But you tell us about this Sariyya of Hadhrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, also that happened in the 6th year after Hijrah.
Thank you so much, Ustaz Ibrahim. Jazakumullah. Thank you for having me. Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. We have the Sariyya of Hadhrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu to Fadak. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the one who sent him. And we understand that the devastation which has befallen the Jews people in Medina, especially with that of the Banu Qurayza, immediately after that, that reunite the Jews of Medina in the village of Khaybar, which was the largest center for the Jews of Hijaz. It becomes as their headquarters for conspiracies against Islam. Then the Holy Prophet ﷺ sent Hadhrat Ali to this very place. The Jews of this place, who had habitually proven to be very revengeful, jealous, and cruel, were committed to their ever activities, or what they were committed in hailing the religion of Islam, putting the religion of Islam to an end, and then killing the Muslim. At this very instant, that's the Battle of Khaybar. It occurred at the 6th year after Hijri, when it occurred in the beginning of 7th year after Hijri, when the Holy Prophet ﷺ sent this companion Hadhrat Ali to that place, and due to which the entire region of Khaybar also joined Islam, because they fought with the Jews, and they were overpowered, and they fall under the Islamic government system or governance system. It is mentioned that certain events happened immediately after this, but this was the event that the Holy Prophet ﷺ sent Hadhrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu towards Khaybar, and the Jews were the ones settling therein, and they were also united there, fighting Islam. We understand that many Jews left Medina, the Banu Qurayza. They left Medina to that area. We have Banu Kainuka and others who were also, some of them were settling at this very place. So they were still trying or planning to attack Muslims in Medina, despite the fact that they left Medina and they were expelled from Medina. But they gathered, they regrouped, and then they were fighting Islam, and especially the Holy Prophet ﷺ and his companions.
But we know that the Jews of Arabia, they, even after everything that happened in Medina, we have mentioned how they were expelled from Medina, and some of them were unfortunately executed at the hands of, by the command of a person whom they choose by themselves to to be their judge, and the Prophet ﷺ accepted that. And we have seen that even though all that has happened, but then they did not leave their ways. They continued their instigation against the Muslims, and also planning. And we are told that they were in secret talks with this Banu Sa'd bin Bakr tribe, and especially the Jews who were stationed in Khaybar. But Khaybar, the Prophet ﷺ got an intelligence that this is what was going on. Ustaz Ruhan, you tell us the rest of the details on this Sariyah when Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu was sent to quell these kind of people.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. As he has rightly made mention that it was due to their own mischief acts they were expelled from Medina, and that was like a rankling thorn in their hearts, and they have developed so much hostility against Muslims. So using this as an opportunity, the people of Banu Sa'd, they joined hand with these Jews of Khaybar who were already at war against Muslims, to become partnered with them and wage a greater war against Muslims to finish them from the face of the earth. So under the command of Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, a group of companions was dispatched for this expedition. So they used to travel at night and hide in the day. So when they reached to a place near Fadak, there they found a Bedouin who was known to be the spy of spy of Banu Sa'd. So the Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, he imprisoned him and tried to inquired of him about the people of Banu Sa'd. But initially he was hesitant, and he showed like he is not part of them, he has no knowledge concerning those people. But then Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu told him that he would be rewarded, that if he is able to guide them to where they are, he would be set free. So as a result, he accepted the fact that yes, he know where they are, and he became the guide for the Muslims up to the place where they were actually. So when they got there, it was a sudden attack, from the Muslims, and those people were not expecting it to be this sudden, this prompt, and as a result, they left the place, and all their spoils of war were gathered by Muslims and brought back to Medina, and this eventually resulted to the temporary threat which Muslims were having at that time.
Jazakumullah, Ustaz Ruhan. We have seen that the Prophet ﷺ, despite the fact that he got intelligence that the Banu Sa'd bin Bakr were in secret communication with the Jews of Khaybar, he did not directly send someone to the Jews of Khaybar, but then to the Banu Sa'd, who were aiding the Jews. Therefore, if that threat was not there, then the Jews will not have any helper to support them in their hostilities. That is like what they call today neutralizing the other parties instead of the actual one. When you neutralize those who are helpers, then the center will not have support, therefore they will be left alone. I think that is also a strategy of war that is even being used up to today. But Ustaz,
I was thinking it is also important to mention here regarding Fadak, because we have this associated with the companion of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that they unjustly seize the spoil of the war from the family of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Na'uzubillah, some people claim that. But we understand that whenever the Holy Prophet ﷺ used to get spoil of war, this was distributed among the Muslims, and it was done during his lifetime, so that tomorrow after him nobody will claim that this spoil of war were given to so and so unjustly. So these were given, it was distributed at the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. We understand that the Holy Prophet, we are talking about the 7th year after Hijri. I see no reason that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, for a period of 3 more years, he'll be keeping this wealth for the Muslim without distributing it to those who are needy. And suddenly, after the passing away of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, this wealth which was kept for the Holy Prophet ﷺ, for the Muslims, for the family of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, was given to few individuals, or few individuals seized this spoil of war. Rather, Holy Prophet ﷺ distributed all of this, because for the spoil of war is for Allah the Almighty and His prophets. So for the sake of Allah, you give that property in the way of Allah the Almighty. That is giving it to people who are in need. That is putting in the way of Allah the Almighty. And if the Prophet also so wish, he will take part of it. If he need to do anything with that, he will take some. I think that should be clear. Yes.
Jazakumullah for that clarification. And now we go to the Sariyya of Hadhrat Abu Bakr towards the Banu Fazara. And we know that these people were already in fighting against the Muslims. And this is not the first time even we are talking about them. But Ustaz Demba, you tell us when Abu Bakr anhu went there, you know, what actually happened?
I think this happened immediately after this, the Fadak, or the battle with the Jews of Hijaz, that is Khaybar. So as Holy Prophet ﷺ used to do, he dispatched some companions in the command of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu towards the Banu Fazara. Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, at that time, this tribe was at war with the Muslims. Salma bin Aqwa radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a famous archer and trained runner, was also part of this army. Salman himself, he narrated that they reached close to the settlement of this tribe around the time of morning salat, that is the morning prayers, pre-dawn prayers. When they had completed the salat, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu issued forth the command to attack. In fighting with the Fazara tribe, they reached near their water well. Many of the adulterous people were killed, after which they fled from the field of battle, and they imprisoned many men. Salman radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates, the narration continued, that among the group of people that fled was a party of women and children, who quickly moved towards the mountain, towards nearby mountain. He began to shoot arrows between the mountain and them, between the mountain and the women and the children, those who are running towards the mountain. Then upon which this party became frightened and they stopped. They were imprisoned by these companions. Among these prisoners was an elderly lady who covered herself with a mantle of red skin. She also had her beautiful daughter with her. He surrounded these people and brought them before Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who entrusted this girl to the guardianship of that companion, Hazrat Sulman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. When they later reached Medina, when they returned to Medina, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam took this girl from him and sent her to Mecca, to the disbelievers of Mecca, in order to sought the freedom of other Muslims, few Muslim prisoners who were detained in Mecca. And in this case, there was an exchange that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to secure the Muslims who were imprisoned, and this girl was given to the Meccans in return. So I think this is how this battle happened, or the Sariyya of Hadhrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu towards the Fazara tribe, Banu Fazara.
Jazakumullah Ustaz Demba. I think it's worth mentioning also that it is narrated that this Banu Fazara, they had an old lady who was behind all this instigation against Islam and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam of Islam, and her name was Qirfa, and everything that was happening because she was the brain behind all of it. But we are told that Also, this Sahaba Salman bin Aqwa, he was a very skilled runner, and it is narrated in some narrations I have seen that he could even run faster than a horse. He was very good at running, and he was not only skilled runner, but he was trained for that, or let's say he trained himself for that. But it's also worth mentioning that that lady, Ustaz Rohan, it is alleged that by even some Muslim scholars who have written history of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that this old lady was killed in a very brutal manner. So you tell us how the narration is. We are not now talking about whether it is true or false, what that narration is about, and you also tell us about, I will come to Ustaz Demba to tell us about what these Orientalists have said about that narration.
Yeah, it is because there is some slight, narrations which are different from this narration which is mentioned by Ustaz Demba Sahib concerning this expedition to Fazara, and it is mentioned that instead of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu being the commander-in-chief of leading this expedition, it was Hazrat Zaid bin Haris radiallahu anhu, and this is mentioned by Ibn Sa'd. So he says, and the slight changes in details I will narrate here, that he said that Zaid bin Haris radiallahu anhu was the commander for this Sariyya instead of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And moreover, differing in details as well, he writes that this expedition was to discipline the people of Banu Fazara, who resided near the Wadi al-Qura. And
let's be clear that that's a narration by Ibn Sa'd.
Yes, Ibn Sa'd.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm not going to give any clarification here. I will just make mention of what is narrated by him or mentioned by him. Then he said that this Fazara tribe or Banu Fazara, who reside near the Wadi al-Qura, who had attacked the trade caravan of Muslims. So, and stole the wealth and goods of belonging to Muslims. So as a result of that, this expedition was carried out to discipline them. And he said that the mischievous lady, or the brain, as you made mention, behind this was Ummi Kirfa, and she was obviously a very staunch enemy to Islam. So when this lady was captured, this is where the critical part is. When this lady was captured, a man named Qais from the party of Zaid killed her. And not just killed her, but the way this act was carried out seems to be very, very brutal. It said, he continues to narrate, Ibn Sa'd, that he describes the story of this murder such as both of her feet were tied to two different camels, and then those two camels were driven in opposite direction, due to which this lady was literally torn into two pieces apart. So, and her daughter was entrusted to Salma bin Aqwa, as he has already made mention of. So, this part is where so many accusations come up that the punishment that was given was very unjust, and at one side Muslims try to preach about carrying out some the activities to be in a very moderate manner, and at the same time they are conducting something
such
which
extreme
going to exactly.
Yeah, Ustaz Damba, you tell us about one Orientalist we have always mentioned in this program. That's the life of Muhammad. Sir William Muir has mentioned this also in his book, but in what manner, and what was, he said, the objective of mentioning this? He actually said that there were many things, raids and other stuff that happened that was not worth mentioning, but there is one particular thing, and that's about this incident. Ustaz Ruhan mentioned from Ibn Sa'd, You tell us why Sir William Muir choose to mention that in his book.
Yes, I think it is very important to mention that Ibn Sa'd and Ibn Ishaq mentioned this in their narrations. And for Ibn Ishaq, when he was mentioning this, he chose his words. He tried his best possible manner to put it in a way that one can easily understand the written words. But then these historians, these so-called historians who for sometimes they have that grief or they have that malice towards Islam, they sometimes are biased in their narration. And on the basis of this narration, Sir William Muir, who is accustomed to providing more details than most European historians, has highlighted this in his book as an example of a barbaric spirit of the Muslims. As a matter of fact, Sir William Muir wrote that the very reason he included this in his book was because the Muslims committed a cruel deed in this area. As such, Mr. Muir writes, there were several unimportant raids this year, hardly requiring mention, but I must not omit one for the cruel deed that closed it. Talking about this incident of this lady, the way she was killed, he mentioned this in his narration. And we understand that as a historian, as a writer, whenever you writing, you should get information from both sides. For example, you had information or narration, some narrations done by Ibn Sa'd and Ibn Ishaq. You have seen that, you have read that, but at the same time also you should not forget the authentic books of hadith, the like of Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud. What did they say about this?
Including the Quran.
Including the Holy Quran, yes. The teachings of the Holy Quran, which is the most important aspect. What did Holy Quran say about this? And the teachings the Holy Prophet ﷺ put in place for those companions who were going out for war. You know, in the Holy Quran, it is mentioned that anyone who killed one single soul unjustly, it's like he killed the entire mankind. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ ordering his companions, if you are going out for a war, do not even harm the trees which are bearing fruits. Do not even harm those who are old children, women. So if you are ignoring all that, and then pointing these two narrations by Ibn Sa'd, of course Muslim historians, and Ibn Ishaq, then I think you are not acting justly. And the only thing we can say is, we cannot say it unbiasedness. It's biasness, of course. The person is biased in his narration. The person is biased in his research. The person is biased in all what he is doing regarding writing history. Because the moment you do that, you are, you are siding one side. We understand that the early Muslim narrators were so much engaged into investigation that they found things, as it happened, they tried to narrate it. We keep on repeating this narrator, one of the imams who happened to travel, trying to get information from different people. Then he saw somebody, the one who, he was sent to someone who can inform him a lot about the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Imam Bukhari.
Imam Bukhari. When he reached there, he saw that man had a container, whether a bucket, whatever, trying to deceive a horse or an animal to get it. But there was nothing in that bucket. Then Imam Bukhari immediately returned back. He didn't even try to obtain any information from that man. If this man, he said, if this man is able to mislead or able to deceive this animal, what shows that, what are the proofs that he is not going to deceive me while narrating? So he definitely ignored the narration. So I think it would have been fair to bring all narration together, compare them, and then put them in his writings. And people like us will definitely read, and we will understand what had happened.
Yeah, even Muslim, let's say, Muslim narrators sometimes, they include some narrations in their book, not merely to insult Islam, but for fear that this could have happened in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, and we have heard it, and we did not narrate it to the next generation. So it is up to every reader, when you read the books of Muslim historians and ahadith, it is up to you to do your own investigation to see whether did this happen in the time that it was said to have happened. Who narrated this? You know, you do your own investigation, and I think Sariyya Muir, with the caliber of a historian that he is said to be, must have also done the same thing, to go back and look the facts in the Quran, the history of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, which he claimed to have a lot of knowledge about, and then the companions, and like you have said, the instructions that the Prophet ﷺ usually give the companions as they are going out, you know, to engage other people in battle. And we should not also forget that this companion, Zayd, we have discussed about him so many times, where he was sent out. And even some companions were complaining about his leadership because of the lineage, you know, he came from. He was a freed slave. We have heard also companions complaining about his son, you know, later on when he passed away, his son. And the Prophet ﷺ telling them specifically that leadership has nothing to do with lineage. You know, it is based on the character of the person and their natural capabilities. So it will not be surprising that one of those would even say this thing just to spoil the name of Zayd. It is all possible. This is history. And we have seen the Jews trying to even change words. The Holy Quran have told us that they have tried even to change the words of the Quran. They say a word that is similar, very similar to the actual word, but then it is not the same. You know, we have heard someone telling the Prophet ﷺ, Assalamu alaikum. It is, if you don't listen to it very carefully, you will think it is Assalamu alaikum. So this is all possible in that time. But it is left to everyone when you hear a thing that has been done, whether against your own prophet or another prophet, it is left for you to use your mind, you know, unbiasedly to investigate that thing. And I think this is all time allowed us. We will, inshallah, continue this discussion because we have a lot to say about it in our next program. So dear viewers, this is all time allowed us to discuss on this. We have touched on the Sariyya of Hadhrat Ali radiallahu anhu and that of Hazrat Abu Bakr, which we are continuing per se, because some have said that it was not the Sariyya of Hazrat Abu Bakr, it was Zayd who was sent, and so many things have happened there, like the killing of this lady called Qirfa, which we will elaborate later on and show that it was actually not, she was not killed and she was taken as captive, and like other narrators also have come in to give their own voice on this matter. So until we come back here on this same topic, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salli ala mubinina, salli ala Muhammadin, salli ala Nabiyyina, salli ala Muhammadin.